That being said, our sideboard, we already talked about High Noon, just very good against these decks that want to cast multiple spells a turn, whether it be Lotus, Phoenix, the Slickshot aggro decks, mono green, whatever. Knockout Blow is for these red aggressive decks. Beza is really good against everything except for anything you would consider a combo. So I think it's very good against the aggro decks because it gains life and creates blockers. It's essentially just like a timely reinforcement creature where you create a treasure token if opponent controls more lands than you. You gain 4 life if opponent controls more life than you, and create 2 1/1 blue frick creature tokens if opponent has more creatures than you, and draw a card if your opponent has more cards in hand than you. So I think it's good against mid-range as well because it can happen to draw a card, and just like having creatures post-board against mid-range when they're forced to bring out removal, I think is very powerful. And then also for a similar reason, pretty good in the mirror match. Like if we can play this card and then draw a card from it, it's a threat and we draw a card. Every single card matters in these control mirrors. And so Beza is really strong. It's just not very good against the combo decks. Aether Gust, 2 mana instant, choose target spell a permanent that's red or green. Its owner puts it on top and bottom of their library. We play this card against like the mono green deck and against the red aggressive decks. Mystical Dispute for these other blue decks, whether it be the mirror match or spirits or Lotus combo or whatever. 3 mana counter target spell unless controller pays 3, and it costs 2 less to cast if it targets a blue spell. Playing 1 Shark Typhoon, which adds a good mid-range killer and a decent card to help fix our land drops and apply pressure in the mirror match and stuff. Where it's an enchantment where whenever we cast a non-creature spell, put an XX blue shark creature token with flying where X that spell's mana value. So it's a great finisher. But we can cycle it for 1 blue, 1 generic, and 1 X. And when you cycle it, which you draw a card when you cycle, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying. Hullbreaker Horror is another just like awesome kill condition against these mid-range decks and these control decks. Is also decent against combo if you're able to get there. Against most combo decks, you can't really get there, though. It's really, really hard to. Dovin's Veto, again, for these non-creature decks. We already talked about it when we talked about the main deck Dovin's Veto. And then Kahira, just because it's free, and just having another threat, just like on a stick, even if we side in the Beza, just excellent. The only thing it doesn't get along with is Hullbreaker Horror, but that is totally fine. I think if you really want access to Kahira, you could totally just play a second Shark Typhoon instead of Hullbreaker Horror. I just think Hullbreaker Horror is just so good in the mirror match that we want to keep it. But if you're playing this 75 and side in Hullbreaker Horror, be sure to not reveal Kahira. You will lose.